Hi, everyone. Welcome to our presenter training today. I am Daita Sergi, Senior Education Manager with GCSHE. And let's go to the next slide. I'm joined here today by my colleague, Letitia Dutch. She's our Conference and Events Manager. Say hi, Letitia.
Good afternoon, everyone.
So I am the main point of contact for our presenters that is mostly related to your sessions. And Letitia is your point of contact for the conference platform, so the speaker portal and also your sessions. And we're both going to be supporting you during the live event. And you can email us both at education@gshe.org. So a little bit about today. We have an hour and I'm actually trying to put something into the chat. We are going to give you a couple of updates, talk briefly about the conference platform, also very briefly about the presenter details and responsibilities, and then spend most of the time on talking about your engaging sessions, and also a little bit at the end about next steps. So with that being said, let's get right into it. And we have an attendee poll, which I will launch now, and with two questions. So one is, were you a presenter or an attendee at last year's conference? And the second question, we had a training about general information for presenters about a month ago, and we wanted to know how many of you have watched it or attended it, because that will also help us tailor the information that we are sharing today. And we have about a 90% response rate. So I will go ahead and end the poll. So let's share. Okay, we have a bit less than half that attended. Only 14% presented last year, and more than half didn't attend last year's conference. So that's good for us to know. And also, most of you did not watch last session, which is fine. It is recorded and available on the presenter details page, and I'll talk about that shortly, where you can access it. But we're also providing a very brief recap of that today. Letitia, would you mind going back to the slides? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure.
We are seeing the PowerPoint, like the app. With the there, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so updates very quickly. Okay, I mentioned the presenter trainings, and I'm gonna share the link to the presenter details page. This is basically your one-stop shop for anything presenter related. This is where you can find the sessions recordings. We had one already. Today we have the second one. There will be two more, so you can join us for those as well. And next update is related to the emerging issues call for proposals. Next slide. This is open now. It closes this Friday. We are looking for proposals related to racial justice, campus reopenings, and resilience in the face of climate change, and anything that is emerging topic right now. So please consider submitting before Friday. We're looking for live 45-minute sessions, but we may accept also a couple of lightning talks or on-demand sessions. And I will now turn over to Letitia to briefly go over the conference platform recap.
All right. Good afternoon again. So as many of you, well, I know not many people were with the with the conference last year in 2021, but a lot of you have accessed Pheedloop. Thankfully, we've noticed that a lot of you have gone in and RSVP'd. About half of you have registered. So I'm just going to give you a little bit more insight on utilizing the platform. What you have seen so far is the speaker portal. So that's where you came in and you click the acceptance of the presenter policies, and you should be able to now see tasks associated with your profile. But you can review your session's info, your title, description, when it's scheduled, and all those types of things. All session times are currently listed in Eastern Standard Time, just in case you're wondering, and hopefully it all still works for you and is what you are expecting. But if there are any issues with your sessions, your information or descriptions or anything of that nature, you can always contact me and Dida at education@ashi.org. As I mentioned, you have these tasks laid out for you in the speaker portal. Again, a lot of you have already RSVP'd to the portal. And so this happens, for those of you who have not done so, this happens when you first access it. Once you first log in from the welcome email that you should have received from conference@pheedloop.com, you will immediately be prompted to accept the presenter policies. And just accepting that is acknowledgement, and that it actually counts for your RSVP. A lot of people have done that. If you have not done that, or if you feel like you have missed that email and you don't have any clue what I'm talking about, please reach out to us and we will help get you on the right path. So other tasks that you will see there for you include updating and confirming your profile information. So you just want to, put your title, your school position, your bio, upload headshot, things of that nature, and all of that stuff is listed out for you in the portal. We want you to also review how to design an engaging session. There are some tips in there. Dida's going to give a lot of information out today. And you will also have access to this recording to refer back to if you need it. If you have any additional resources for the attendees viewing your sessions, please, we'd love for you to upload any handouts or slides or any type of visuals that you have. Will always very, very helpful. And again, we want you to definitely check your title, your handouts, check your name, make sure everything is spelled correctly. That if there are any edits to your description, there is a form, session update form that we have sent out to you. It's been in a lot of the communications that you've received. It's also in the presenter's details page that Dida has mentioned. Here's the link to that form here. It might be a little hard for you to grab it here, but definitely if you want to refer back to any of your emails or again, on the presenter details page that was just dropped in the chat. You can access this form. So any changes or updates that you need to make to your session, you will do it there. So if you need to add a speaker, remove a speaker, change your title or anything of that nature, you will submit that to us via this form and we will update that for you. And then there is also a separate form for you to upload any video recordings. Sorry, I didn't mean to go forward. For you to upload any video recordings, mostly applies to those doing on-demand sessions. And finally, we need you to register to attend the conference. And hopefully you've seen in the communications that have gone out instructions on how to do that. I am also going to go over those steps again today. It is not the most intuitive. I apologize for that, but we will walk through it. And please note that you have until September 16th to complete your presenter registration to get the discount. After September 16th, if you don't register by then, you will have to at the regular rate, attendee rate. And note at the bottom, emerging issues presenters have until October 3rd because they have yet to be identified. Again, like I mentioned, every speaker needs to register. This is what it looks like when you log into the system. To go to the registration page, you'll see these blue buttons here, attendee and presenter. You want to select the presenter button. And then once you click the presenter button, you will eventually, after entering your details, get to this page where you can add a ticket. This often throws everyone off because they see this discount code at the bottom. You don't want to do anything here, but first thing you want to do when you get to this page is click add ticket. Then your next step will be to enter your access code, Urgency 2022 Pres. This has also been in your communications, but once you add your ticket, this box will pop up automatically, and this is where you will enter your access code. And then finally, if you're participating with a host institution, or if your university or school is participating as a host institution, then you will enter that code down here in the discount code box. So that's what this box is for. It is not for your presenter code, but for your host institution code. So next, just to do a quick poll and just to get familiar with some of the Zoom chat features and everything, I'd like for everyone to, if you have already registered, if you will raise your hand. If you have not registered, give me a thumbs down. Just curious on who's done it and who hasn't done it.
Or you can use the green check mark and the stop button for the, if you haven't had a chance to register yet. But it looks like maybe we have 4 or 5
that have not.
Yes. Yes. So please make sure you register by September 16 if your institution is not a host institution, because that's when your discount expires. If your institution is a host institution, then do not use the presenter. So register with your host institution codes, because if you register as a presenter first, we'll have to cancel your registration, and there is a fee associated with that.
Yes, thanks, Dida. All right, so for those who have not done it, again, I just want to remind you, if you haven't seen the email, or if you need any assistance, definitely contact us at education@ashe.org, and we will help move you through that. So more information about becoming a host institution. So there are some extra benefits here. Once your school signs in, it's a way to a more affordable and economical way to give access to multiple people at the university for students, faculty, and staff. We also build an internal community for you guys to network with within your group, and that's the access to that is through December 31st. But as you can see, the unlimited registration of course, is just what it says. As many people as you would like to allow at your university can register. They'll have the on-demand virtual conference session tour for a max of 45 minutes. The cap registration is for 100 registrants, and it's in the same benefits. But we definitely, if that's something that your university is considering, definitely want to encourage you to take advantage of that. And like Dida said too, if you know that your school is going to participate as a host institution, you should wait for that code before registering.
And we have 2 questions in the chat related to host institutions, so maybe we can address those now.
Sure.
Well, actually, it's only one, because Georgianne was letting us know that she's waiting for her new budget. That's fine. When do you receive the host institution codes? And
it's when your school registers as the host institution, it usually comes within a week of the registration being complete.
But then also the sustainability office or whoever paid for that, the host institution needs to share the code out. So if you're not that person, then you have to connect with that if they haven't sent it yet.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Any other questions about the host institution? Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, what you've already accessed at the platform is the speaker portal, and where you can update your profile, upload any of your session materials. There is a separate form for you to upload any videos. And there are other portals and things that you need to be familiar with. The second one being the attendee portal, which you don't have access to quite yet, but you will at the beginning of October. We will send you out, you'll get communications from us on how to access that, but that's how you would see the conference as an attendee versus as a presenter. And of course, we'll also be utilizing Zoom for your presentations. So you'll find your session in Pheedloop, and there'll be a hyperlinked image there where you can click and join into your session. And we do highly recommend and want you to join about 10 minutes prior to start time, just so we can go over some housekeeping things, make sure, check camera, audio, and do some light troubleshooting just to make sure you're ready to go before we broadcast the session live to the attendees. And now I am going to turn it back over to Dida.
Thank you. I will go really quickly through this section, but wanted to mention again the presenter details page. This is really the page that you can reference for almost everything that we are mentioning here. So we have the deadlines and all the presenter training recordings, or link to register for the next ones. But if you register for this one, I think you registered for all of them, and the presenter resources. Next slide. The deadlines, really September 16 is the one coming up. And this means registration, recording your, uploading your recordings, and anything else that has to do with your sessions. Well, it's not we're not emphasizing this as a deadline to update your sessions. It would be really, really, really helpful if you would do that, any updates by then, because then we can have the schedule as up to date and ready to go as possible. And if you haven't RSVP'd, anyone who's not confirmed will be removed starting on Monday. But I will be sending an email today to all of those. So if you don't get that from me, then you're all set. I'm not removing anyone without letting them know. So resources, there is this Designing an Engaging Conference Session page that basically has most of the resources that we will be referencing today and much more. So visit that page often as you're preparing your presentation. Update your session. This form has been mentioned already. Upload session video. Also, and then the presenter responsibilities. I wanted to highlight that because it's sort of a checklist for you. Anything that you need to do and that we've mentioned today in different forms are listed there. And again, if you can do all of those, like RSVPing, registering, any updates and so on by September 16, that would be awesome. And all right, let's talk about your engaging session. And we have a second poll. So the reasons I'm running these polls, the reason I'm running these polls is also to show you what options you have for the polls. So if you want to add polls to your sessions at the conference, that update session form is a place to request a poll, because you will not have time to add the poll in the 10 minutes before your session starts. And only the hosts can do that, and you're not going to be a host of your session. You can be a co-host. So we need to know what polls you need to add in advance of the session. And the same is with the breakout rooms. That's just to give us a heads up of what breakout rooms you'd like to create. So most of you here are presenting a live session. There's also a couple presenting on demand. So we'll mention a little bit about both of those types. And most have not presented a live virtual session before. Awesome, you're in the right place. So, oops, I didn't share the results. Here they are for you to see. So let's keep moving. And the other thing I wanted to mention about the polls is there's two types of questions. We had a multiple choice, like we had this first question here, or a single choice. So those are both options available. And also you can have a poll with multiple questions showing up at the same time, like this one here, but you can also have separate polls at different times during the session, like we did the first poll earlier on. This is the second poll. So this was also one reason why we did these two polls, to show you that. And then we wanted to do a little bit of a chat storm. At the conference, you will not need to rename yourself or attendees, because everybody will come in with their name already in, but sometimes people join Zoom without their name on. So if you want to rename, and then let's go to the next slide. So I'd like you to type in the chat what is the #1 insight that you'd like attendees to get from your session, but do not hit enter yet. We'll do like maybe not quite a minute wait time while you're typing that, and then everybody will hit enter at once. So remember, you can type it, like think about it and then type it, and then wait for our prompt to hit enter. And I actually will not put the music, but I am looking at my clock, so you can start typing that. And if you don't mind going to the next slide, Letitia, while you're thinking, I will also be talking to you. So sorry if you'll be multitasking, but this is what's called a chat storm, where everybody like puts their input in the chat and hits enter at once. This is a way to get input from a large group at once. It helps both extroverts and introverts participate, because if you were to ask for this feedback live, like people talking, then the introverts may not say anything, and they're not necessarily included. It's a way also to break the ice with, getting people engaged in the session and then starting to talk with each other, because you can see what they put in the chat and then maybe start a conversation from there. It's also getting people comfortable with writing in the chat and that you want them to engage with the chat. And I've been talking about your over your reflective time, but sometimes people are really weird about silence in the virtual meetings. So this is a way to become more comfortable with that. So maybe we can now go to hit enter for everyone and see what you'd like to get for people to get out of your sessions. And we can all scroll up and see what that would be. So equitable partnerships for climate justice sounds awesome. Okay, virtual planning process with high engagement. I like that. Maybe you can help me a little bit today, Liz. Green event certification, whole system sustainability. Awesome. So cool. Now, this is the one thing you'd like people to get out of your session. So how you're going to do that, it's a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. So connection before content is a concept in virtual meetings and engaging virtual meetings, is that if people do not have some kind of connection before you start giving them the content, then the learning may not happen as well. And that because we're social beings, we want to connect with each other before we can start, accumulating or absorbing. So I already gave you a little bit of why this is important, but if you have any other thoughts of why you think this may be important to achieve in virtual spaces, write it in the chat. Or we're not that many today, so if you raise your hand, you can also unmute yourself and say something. And it's fine if you don't have any other thoughts. on that. Yes. Comfortable to communicate their ideas. Great. I also think that without relatedness, we can't, no work can occur, or education or knowledge sharing or networking and so on. And yes, arrive and settle in. Good. And I love Justin and your networking session. And also it's good to start with easier questions and then get into the meat of your topic. It helps ease people in. And so on your question, Robert, about the expectations of seeing faces instead of names, the number one engaging tool you have is turning on your video and start talking. So you start talking and people can see you, then that's where engagement can start. Apparently the second tool for engagement is the chat, and then breakout rooms and polls. So we are doing today's session also because of feedback we received last year after the conference. And some of the improvables were some fixes with the platform, which I think that we are able to implement well. And secondly was people not having their cameras on. And I think if we are, hopefully, after going through today's session, we'll talk a little bit about why that may happen and how to deal with that. So, yeah, I don't know if seeing participants is best etiquette. There's many reasons of why somebody may not have their camera on, and also depends on the type of session. So I think we'll talk a bit about psychological safety, and I think that is the number one of why people may be turning their cameras on or not. But they may also be chewing, and some people are self-conscious with that. So, there can be many different reasons. And yes, ways to accomplish. So there's all kinds of ways to accomplish connection before content. But okay, let's go to the next slide. All right, I provided this as a resource, as an additional resource. And if I can find the link here, it's a framework for how to think of your session, and think of where you'll be, like how will you be presenting, where are you going to be setting up, and so on. For example, today I'm not in my regular space that I'm usually at, and I actually forgot to turn my light on when I started talking again. So planning where you'll be presenting from, who your audience will be, like what your content will be about. We'll talk about engagement, but also wanted to mention socialization, because humans are social creatures, and in order to feel included, it's also important of the language that you use. And we also like to be individual, so you can talk about you, but when you use we, then we are all part of this group that we're, I don't know, today is about engaging sessions, but your sessions are about other things. So be a little bit aware about what kind of language you use. And then also another pretty important, but really simple words to change is using and instead of but, because then it's a connector rather than putting two things in opposition to each other. So the Get Interactive resource has some links to some additional outside resources on these topics about language. And what our premise with this resource is that presentations, especially in-person presentations, but not only, used to be like welcome, like I would read the bio of the presenters and then they would go to slides for 35 to 45 minutes, and then maybe we'll take some written questions from the audience, and that would be it. And that doesn't work necessarily in the way you'd like it to work, because it's hard to accumulate and absorb that content, and it may also not be engaging enough in that format. So we are recommending changing that up and including the audience as a co-creator to your session. There is a lot more that can be, that you and the presenters and the attendees can get out of if you're changing it up a little bit. Next slide. And we also are providing like these 3 steps for how to go about your session. Today we'll focus on the designing your session and content. And at the next training, we'll talk a little bit more about stage 2 and 3. Next. Okay, can we go through all the bullets? Yes. So again, you should start with the goals for your session and then design around them. Think of what a format would be best, who your co-presenters are, what activities would work with that format. And we have a lot of examples on that page, which I actually did not put in the chat. So, but it's linked from the presenter details page. Next. And then, yes, time limitation, accessibility and inclusiveness. I mentioned a little bit about the language, but there is more on the resource. What else is there? Psychological safety, we'll talk about that today, and online engagement. So, sorry about that graphic going over the text, but be mindful of your time. You only have 45 minutes. That includes Q&A and discussion. The lightning talks have 15 minutes. Networking sessions have 60. On-demand sessions are 45 or 15 minutes, but you can use, for on-demand sessions, it's a little bit more, not as strict. You can use all your time or less or a little bit more. It's not a big deal. And be realistic with time, which I may not have been today. I want to give you like so much, and let's get to our exercise today. So yes, we are only 40 on this call, so we are going to use a Jamboard. Last year, we were 50 or more than 50, and what I learned is that a Jamboard will not take more than 50 participants. So that was my lesson learned last year on how to use this tool. But we can go to, oh, I may have sent you to the last, let's go here. So I put in the chat this Jamboard link, which I'm hoping that everyone can access. If it's not accessible, let me know. Access is blocked, great. All right, let's see how I make this. Okay, share. And I apologize for that. All right, it should work now. Can everyone please refresh? All right, I have an anonymous blobfish who has joined, so I hope that it's now working for everyone. And Letitia, do you mind also going to the Jamboard and maybe sharing, or I said that I would share the screen. Can you still share? That would be awesome with the Jamboard. All right. So what we wanted to do here is see your ideas on engagement. So you can add sticky notes and, what do you think are some tools for engaging sessions? So what can we do with poll questions? Good. All right, using a Jamboard, everybody, you can move your notes around so you're not icebreaker questions. Awesome. What else can we do for engagement? And the one other thing that I will do is actually well, not yet. So I also have some other ideas on, having fun. If you're having fun, then your attendees will feel that excitement in your voice. So you are basically creating the culture of your meeting. And it's something I've been telling our presenters. Like, I joined GCSHE in 2014. I've been managing our webinars since then. And I've been telling this for this many years. Think of talking to a group of friends, right? Then how would you present to maybe your sister or your parents, or I don't know, your best friend, on that topic that you're really passionate about, right? That will come out in your voice, in how you present yourself, and will also bring people in and to share that excitement with you. So I see some comments in the chat. Yeah, I think that the presenters or facilitators or moderators are really the ones that are driving the mood or the culture, or the setting of that session. So yeah, Divya, unfortunately that is not possible because we don't know who will attend your session. People do not sign up in advance for the session, so that would be a little bit hard to do. Okay, so we have all of these ideas on engagement, and polls seem to be yeah, I like the little sticky notes on what you like. We'll actually are going to vote on what is one new idea here. But let's go to actually Letitia, if you don't mind clicking on the next. So on the arrow on the top, you can go to the next Jamboard. Yeah, right there. All right, mistakes to avoid. What should we not do for an engaging session? If we want an engaging session, what is something to definitely avoid? Reading every word on the slide, yes, which sometimes I am guilty of that, I admit. Yes, I think all of your ideas are good. So I like the putting participants on the spot. That is also not a great thing. What we don't have time to talk about today is your lighting and wardrobe and looking into the camera. But while you are adding your notes there, I can mention a couple of things. So it's best practice is to be at the same level with your eyes as your camera, which is why I'm not today on my regular desk. I'm actually up on a dresser with some books, and this is where my laptop is, because that's the only way I can get my laptop's camera on my eye level and still feel comfortable here. Think about your light. In this area, there's not a good natural light. I would be very dark from one side, so I have an extra light in front of me. Think, what else can be seen in your background. Today I put the GCSHE logo in my background. I usually like to blur my background and it would look like that, because I don't really want you to see what is in my background right now. So think of a couple of those things, and are really important. Okay, so we talked about mistakes. Let's go to the next one. which is talking a little bit about accessibility and inclusiveness. And I did mention a bit about language. So using language that is clear, direct, and easy to understand, it's important. But if you have any other ideas of what it means to create an accessible and inclusive session, let's put them all there. Yes, turning on captions. I think this should be standard for your sessions. It would be something that your GCSHE host will turn on, but if they forget, make sure that you can let them know to do that, because Zoom doesn't turn on live transcript automatically, which I think is something they should be working on. It should be if you should have to turn it off, not on. Gender neutral pronouns. Also avoid using jargon or acronyms that not everybody may understand them. Also, we have an international audience at the GCSHE conference. Of course, all sessions are in English, but think of a little bit about that as well. And offer verbal or written notice before sharing potentially sensitive content. That is also important. On the design features, try using plain text. Be aware about your font sizes. Don't use condensed spacing and so on. And there is a presenter toolkit from, actually, it's an institution in Canada, which I think it's an awesome resource. I can't really go through all of that, but I will share it in the chat. Yes, so Maynard, I have a slide also on engagement for on-demand sessions. So we'll get to that shortly. And can we go to the next jam, which is psychological safety? So I mentioned this a couple of times, but what do I mean by psychological safety? Can anyone maybe unmute and if you know what I mean by that, let us know. Okay, so that is okay. Oh, I have a message here. Is this it? Trust. Okay, yes. Trust between presenters and attendees and attendees. A lot of time that may mean that whatever is discussed stays with those participants. It's not shared outside. Now, that may not be quite the case for the conference sessions, but sometimes breakout rooms may be like that. For the networking meetings, this is why we're not recording and sharing the networking meetings, because to, you know, have that trust that people can talk freely in those sessions. We are going to record the live sessions though, and that they will be available on demand. Yeah, warning about traumatic content in advance also creates psychological safety. I mentioned a little bit about the extroverts and the introverts, you know, giving people multiple ways to participate is a way to create psychological safety. And I don't know why the notes are not showing up for me, but that's fine. Oh, where did they all go? There were some notes there. Okay, they somehow disappeared. Yeah, so giving people ways to participate that may also address the needs of people who want to talk a lot, right? And also those who are more shy or don't like being the one to answer the first question. Don't go right into spotlighting someone without having their permission, and so on. So going back to, I think Robert was asking about, you know, having cameras on. I think once you start with connection before content and, you know, creating psychological safety in your session, then people will be more likely to engage. Sometimes going to the breakout room will prompt people to turn their cameras on if they're feeling safe and, you know, wanting to share in the breakout room, and then when they come back, they don't turn their cameras on, so off. So that's also, you know, a part of that. And like I mentioned before, you know, the way you approach the session will also help people be more engaged with that. So you are, what did I say? You are creating the culture of your virtual meeting. So I know we're going pretty quickly through this exercise, and I also wanted to share last year's Jamboard. Last year's Jamboard didn't have all the last two jams, so but you can find a lot of additional ideas on engagement and mistakes to avoid. So we are going to also keep this as a resource for presenters. So yeah, this is last year's jam, but I also want to do a little bit of an annotation exercise. So because today is also about showing you different Zoom tools and engagement tools. So let's go to this year's jam. Go to the first one, Letitia, if that's okay. And maybe, let's see. But well, let's do this thing. I will show you this slide. Oops. Stop. Okay. Come on. It's giving me a little bit of trouble on, and I hope everybody will be able to annotate. So continue. All right, so can you see this slide? All right, so good. We'll go back to Letitia's slide, but I wanted you to see these view options and annotate. This is on top of your Zoom screen. So if you've never, these view options are weird. I don't know why it's there and it's not in the regular toolbar. But let's go back to, yeah, you can now annotate, but let's annotate on Letitia's screen. So I'll stop sharing. How do I stop share? Okay, and Letitia, let's go back to the jam. And what I would like you to do is actually use your stamping. So you, in the annotate tool, there is a stamp. So I don't know, use a star or a heart to, you know, which one are you like the most excited about or is new to you or something. So what is something you would like to use? Word clouds, awesome. Like everybody loves that. Maybe I should turn this jam into a word cloud. So on the Jamboards, just be aware that you can only do it with up to 50 people. So just keep that in mind. And I had the Google Doc prepared as a plan B. So plan Bs are always good to have if we had more than 50 participants today. And I can actually save this jam and then share it with you in the chat. So, you know, annotation is a tool that you can use with your options, your sessions. So where are the annotation two options. You just have a pen. Interesting. So there should be a whole bar that opens when you click on the annotation button. Can anyone? Oh, you see it now. Awesome. All right. So we'll stop with the annotation now. And Letitia, can we go back to the presentation, please? Or was I going to share? Well, can you share, please? Thank you. Okay, let's keep moving from here. But this is a document that will stay. You can use it. I wanted to quickly talk about engagement for networking. This can be the networking sessions, but not necessarily. You may want to do some connecting exercise activities in your session. So we are describing this in a little bit more detail on the Get Interactive page, but chat storm, share outs, collaborative work. So that can be done in the breakout rooms and on the annotation. The breakout rooms can use annotation and save those files. So each breakout room can save their own and then share them. So we did that in the Impact Accelerator. I don't know if some of you may have attended that. We did that in one of the sessions. Learn, share, speed pairs, networking. So a lot of ideas for engagement. And the next slide is what I think I had the question earlier on engagement for on-demand sessions. So what can you do for your sessions to be engaging? One thing I mentioned about, your voice, your presence, that's the number one engaging thing is when you turn on your camera and you start talking, but how you do that can be, pulling people into that topic or not. Remember varying your pitch and volume and speaking clearly. That's important so that people don't tune out, especially at a pre-recorded session, including video. So changing up what you're doing. This is a recommendation for all the sessions. So changing up what you're doing every 5-10 minutes, that will keep people interested. You can also have others join your recording and sort of have like a conversation or have participants, and but make sure that you get permission to use their audio or video. And the same, you can, depending on what your topic is or your session, you can showcase the project or initiative on campus or interview others who are part of that. Storytelling is also a really good way of keeping people's attentions. And then also you can ask questions that the audience, you can prompt them to respond in the chat. There will be chat associated with the on-demand sessions, right, Letitia? Yes. And the on-demand viewing period is through December 31st. And that's also for the live session. So after they're done, they will turn into on-demand viewing. And yeah, so what we reviewed today was the chat storm renaming. It's not necessarily for the conference, but it's something you can do in other sessions. Zoom polls, Zoom reactions, Zoom annotations. What we didn't get to do is breakout rooms. And I did have an exercise for the breakout rooms. In order for us to do it in the 4 minutes that we have left, I will actually create rooms of 2 participants. You can each share for 1 minute and recap for 2 minutes. And then maybe you can put in the chat your final takeaways. So, so there's a lot of activities that work well with breakout rooms. And we tried to go through all of these different stages in developing your session. We'll talk about the ones that are left on the bottom at the next training. And let's see what the next slide is. Oh, yes, let's keep going. We'll talk about this next time, about absolutely do a rehearsal and why you should do that. It's here. And let's move on to slide to after the recap slide. Yeah, next here. So remember, connection before content, design for accessibility, inclusion, and psychological safety, and engagement. Change what you're doing every 5 to 10 minutes. Don't overwhelm your slides. Get the audience to interact with each other or the presenter. Create something with the group like we did the Jamboard today. That's a lasting resource. And then there's a lot of Zoom features that you can use. And next steps is really think of the September 16 deadlines. Do use the resources that we make available to you. And for any questions, we're here to help. education@ace.org. So thank you so much. If there's any other takeaways, I would love to hear how this session, what you learned today, or if there was any aha moments or insights. And I will see you at the next training or at the conference. Thank you so much.